The Galactic Council had been watching the stars for over 50,000 years. They had found life on 12,000 worlds. They had met species that swam through oceans of liquid metal. They had spoken with beings made of pure light. They had traded with creatures that lived for 10,000 years and others that lived for only 10 days. But in all that time, across all those worlds, they had never met anything like humans. The Council operated on a simple truth that had never been wrong. Every intelligent species in the universe followed the same path. Prey animals developed big brains to escape predators. They learned to work together, to build tools, to create civilization. Predator animals stayed wild and dangerous, ruled by instinct and hunger. This was the way of things. This was the law of evolution. When the human ship appeared at the edge of known space, the Council was curious but not worried. The ship was small and primitive by galactic standards. It moved slowly through the void, pushing itself forward with controlled explosions. The Council had seen 1,000 first contacts. They knew exactly what to expect. They were wrong. Captain Una Park stood on the bridge of the horizon and watched the alien station grow larger on the view screen. She was 38 years old, with short black hair and eyes that had seen too much empty space. Behind her, her crew of 40 worked quietly at their stations. They had trained for this moment for years. They had dreamed of it for their entire lives. First contact with alien life, Duan Li. Her science officer stepped up beside her. He was younger than Una, with a nervous energy that never seemed to fade. His fingers tapped against his tablet as data streamed across the screen. "Their station is massive," he said quietly. "At least 10 kilometers across. I am reading thousands of life signs, maybe tens of thousands." Una nodded slowly. "Any weapons?" "Nothing pointed at us. Yet." The communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in a language no human had ever heard. But the translation software they had developed worked faster than anyone expected. Within seconds, words appeared on Una's screen. "Unknown vessel. You have entered Galactic Council space. Identify yourself and your species. State your intentions." Una took a deep breath. She had practiced this speech 100 times. She had written it and rewritten it. She had shown it to politicians and scientists and poets. And now, standing here at the edge of everything humanity had ever known, the words felt small and fragile. This is Captain Una Park of the Earth vessel Horizon. We represent the human species of the planet Earth. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge. There was a long silence. Una could feel her heart beating in her chest. Then the voice returned, and this time it sounded different. Confused, perhaps, or worried. "Human species. You are not in our records. Please dock at Port 7 for biological assessment and diplomatic processing." The docking procedure took 3 hours. The humans were scanned by machines that hummed and clicked. They were photographed from every angle. Small robots flew around them, taking samples of air and skin and hair. Through it all, Una kept her crew calm. They had expected this. They had prepared for this. What they had not prepared for was Ambassador Telos. The Valorian was tall, nearly 3 meters, and his body was made of something that looked like living crystal. Light passed through him and scattered into rainbows on the walls. When he moved, he made a soft chiming sound, like wind through glass bells. His eyes were deep purple, and they studied the humans with an expression that Una could not read. "Welcome to Station Harmony," Telos said. His voice was gentle, almost musical. "I am Ambassador Telos of the Valorian Collective. I have been assigned to process your species for potential council membership." She had studied every form of greeting she could imagine, but she did not know what was appropriate here. "Thank you, Ambassador. We are honored to meet you." Telos led them through corridors filled with aliens of every shape and size. Una saw creatures with too many legs and creatures with no legs at all. She saw beings that floated through the air and beings that crawled along the walls. Every single one of them stopped to stare at the humans. "You are causing quite a reaction," Telos observed. "Your biology is unusual." "How so?" Doan asked. Telos paused at a large window that looked out over a garden filled with plants from 100 worlds. Your eyes face forward. This is a predator trait. Your teeth include sharp canines for tearing meat. Also a predator trait. But your bodies are soft and slow. You have no claws, no armor, no venom. You are a contradiction. Yuna felt something cold settle in her stomach. Is that a problem? Not a problem. A mystery. Telos turned to face her fully. Every species we have ever encountered fits into clear categories. Prey species develop intelligence to escape their predators. Predator species remain feral, driven by instinct. You do not fit either category. They reached a large chamber filled with comfortable seats designed for dozens of different body types. Telos gestured for the humans to sit, and they found chairs that almost fit their shapes. I must ask you the question we ask all new species, Telos said. His purple eyes were intense now, focused entirely on Yuna. This question determines your place in our society. It tells us who you are and where you came from. Yuna nodded. Ask, where's your predator species? The one that hunted you, that drove your evolution toward intelligence. Where are they now? Did they die out? Did you escape them? Do they still exist on your world? The question hung in the air. Yuna looked at Dawan, who raised his eyebrows. She looked at Mireille Choi, their xenobiologist who had joined them for this meeting. Mireille shook her head slowly, a small smile forming on her lips. Yuna turned back to Telos. We do not have a predator species. Blinked. His crystalline body flickered with light. I do not understand. Every intelligent species has a predator. It is the foundation of cognitive evolution. Fear drives the development of higher brain function. This is universal law, not for us, Yuna said simply. What species did you form a symbiotic relationship with? Who kept you safe while your intelligence developed? Yuna stood up slowly. She walked to the window and looked out at the alien garden, at the strange plants and stranger creatures that moved among them. She thought about Earth. She thought about the ice ages and the famines. She thought about the wolves and the lions and the bears. She thought about disease and disaster and war. One protected us, she said quietly. We protected ourselves, but how? You have no natural weapons, no defenses. How could you possibly survive without a protector species? Yuna turned back to face Telos. She smiled, and the smile showed her teeth. In that moment, with the alien light playing across her face, she looked like something ancient and dangerous. Everything on our planet tried to kill us, Ambassador. The weather, the animals, the diseases, even each other. She paused. We killed them back. Every predator that hunted us is now extinct or lives only because we allow it. Every disease that threatened us has been beaten or contained. Every challenge our world threw at us, we overcame. Telos was very still. You are saying that humans are their own predator species? Yuna nodded slowly. We are prey that learn to hunt. We are the thing that monsters fear. She sat back down, her expression calm. We do not have a predator, Ambassador. We became the predator. And then we chose to be something else. Something better. The silence in the room was complete. Telos stared at Yuna for a long moment. His crystalline body darkened still. Then he stood up and walked to the door. Wait here, he said. I must speak with the council. This changes everything. The door closed behind him, and the humans were alone. Dawan let out a long breath. Well, that went well. Yuna looked out the window at the stars, at the vast galaxy waiting beyond. No, she said quietly. That was just the beginning. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began 3 hours after Ambassador Telos left the humans in that quiet room. Word had spread through the station like fire through dry grass. A new species had arrived. A species that did not fit. A species that called itself the Predator. The council chamber was enormous. It was built to hold representatives from over 800 species, and today, nearly all of them were present. They sat in rings that rose up toward a domed ceiling painted with the history of galactic civilization. At the center of the chamber, a single platform waited for the human delegation. Yuna stood on that platform with Mireille Choi beside her. The xenobiologist had insisted on being the one to explain human evolution. She had spent her entire career studying life on other worlds, dreaming of this moment. Now that it was here, she found that her hands were not shaking at all. She was calm. She was ready. The Grand Arbiter. A massive creature that looked like a cross between a whale and a tree, floated in a tank of liquid at the highest point of the chamber. Its voice boomed through speakers that translated its song into words. The Council recognizes the human delegation. You have claimed that your species evolved without a predator. This claim contradicts everything we know about the development of intelligent life. You will explain. Murray stepped forward. Her tablet connected to the chamber's display systems, and suddenly the walls were covered with images of Earth, blue oceans, green forests, white clouds. This is our homeworld, she began. We call it Earth. It is a small planet orbiting a medium-sized star in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. But it is not a gentle world. She changed the image. Now the walls showed ice. Endless fields of white stretching to every horizon. For millions of years, our planet has gone through cycles of extreme climate change. Ice ages that covered entire continents. Heat waves that turned forests to deserts. Our ancestors did not evolve in a stable environment. They evolved in chaos. A Rethki delegate rose from its seat. The Rethki were insectoid creatures, nearly 2 meters tall, with bodies covered in hard shells. This one was old. Its shell faded to a dull gray. Every world has climate variations. It clicked. This does not explain your contradiction. You have predator eyes but prey bodies. This is impossible. Murray nodded. You are right that we have forward-facing eyes. This is typically a predator trait. It allows for depth perception, which is useful for hunting. Now she paused. But we did not evolve these eyes to hunt other animals. We evolved them to hunt each other. The chamber went silent. Murray continued. Early humans lived in small groups that competed for resources. We fought each other for food, for territory, for mates. We developed forward-facing eyes because we needed to track other humans. We developed our intelligence because we needed to outsmart other humans. Our greatest predator was always ourselves. She changed the image again. Now the walls showed early humans, rough paintings from ancient caves. Stick figures hunting great beasts with tiny spears. But we were also prey. Everything on our planet wanted to eat us. Great cats with teeth as long as your arm. Bears that could crush bone with a single blow. Packs of wolves that worked together like soldiers. We were not the strongest. We were not the fastest. We had no armor, no claws, no venom. Then how did you survive? The Grand Arbiter asked. Murray smiled. It was not a kind smile. We cheated. She pulled up new images. Stone tools. Wooden spears. Arrows and axes and traps. We built weapons because nature did not give us any. We made fire because we could not survive the cold. We created clothes because we had no fur. Every weakness we had, we found a way around. The images changed faster now. Bronze swords. Iron armor. Castles and cannons. Guns and tanks. Rockets and satellites. We never stopped, Murray said. Every problem we faced, we solved. Every predator that hunted us, we hunted back. We did not just survive. We dominated. Every large predator on our planet is now either extinct or exists only in small numbers that we control. A Valorian in the lower ring stood up. Its crystal body was pale blue, younger than Telos. You are saying that you killed all your predators? Yes. Every single one. Every single one that threatened us. The ones that remain live because we choose to let them live. We keep them in protected areas. We feed them. We study them. But they are no longer a threat. They have not been a threat for thousands of years. The chamber erupted in noise. Hundreds of species talking at once, their voices overlapping in a chaos of clicks and whistles and words. The Grand Arbiter raised a massive limb, and slowly the noise faded. This is unprecedented, it said. In 50,000 years of galactic civilization, We have never encountered a prey species that eliminated its predators. We have never seen a species that hunted itself. We do not know how to classify you." Ray looked up at the ancient creature. "Maybe you do not need to classify us? Maybe we are something new." The council debated for 7 hours. Yuna and Murray were sent back to the waiting room. The rest of the human delegation had been watching the proceedings on screens. Dewan looked pale. The others looked scared. "They are afraid of us," Tayson Kim said. He was older than the others, a former soldier who had joined the mission for a chance at redemption. "I can see it in the way they move, the way they look at us." "Fear is understandable," Yuna said quietly. "We just told them that we are killers, that we hunted our own kind, that we destroyed everything that tried to destroy us." "It is the truth," Murray said. "Should we have lied?" "No." Yuna shook her head. "But the truth has consequences. Now we have to deal with them." The door opened and Ambassador Telos entered. His crystalline body was dark, the colors muted. He looked tired, if such a thing was possible for a being made of living stone. "The council has reached a decision," he said. "It was not unanimous. Nothing about your species is unanimous. But a decision has been made." Kuna stood up. "Tell us." "You are to be classified as a Death World Apex species. This is a designation we have used only twice before in galactic history. Both times, it was applied to species that are now extinct." The humans exchanged glances. Dowan spoke first. "What does that mean for us?" "For our membership?" Telos was quiet for a moment. "It means you will be watched closely. You will be restricted in your movements, in your technology, in your interactions with other species. You will be given probationary membership, with full rights dependent on your behavior over the next 50 standard years." 50 years. Tayson laughed bitterly. "That is almost a human lifetime." "For us, it is nothing," Telos replied. "The council is being generous. There were many who wanted to destroy your ship before you could return home. They see you as a threat to galactic stability." The room went cold. Yuna felt her hands curl into fists at her sides. "And what do you see, Ambassador?" Telos walked to the window and looked out at the stars. His body caught the light and scattered it in patterns that seemed almost sad. "I see a species that terrifies me," he said softly. "You have no natural weapons, but you killed everything with claws and teeth and venom. You have short lives, but you build civilizations that last for ages. You fight among yourselves constantly, but you also show each other love and kindness and sacrifice." He turned back to face Yuna. "I see a contradiction wrapped in soft skin. And I do not know if you will be our salvation or our destruction." Yuna walked over to stand beside him. Together, they looked out at the vast darkness between the stars. "Neither do we," she admitted. "That is what makes us human. We never know what we will become until we get there." She paused. "But I can promise you this. We will try to be good. We will try to be kind. We have seen what happens when we choose violence. We have nearly destroyed ourselves more than once. And yet you survived." Yuna nodded slowly. "Yes, we always survive. That is the one thing you can count on. No matter what happens, no matter how bad things get, humans will find a way to survive." She looked at Telos with eyes that held the weight of 100,000 years of struggle. "The only question is whether we survive alone or together with the rest of you." Telos was quiet for a long time. Then, slowly, his body began to glow with warmer colors. Together, I think," he said finally. "For all our sakes, let us hope it is together." 6 months passed after humanity joined the Galactic Council. It was a time of learning and watching and waiting. Human diplomats traveled to alien worlds. Alien scientists visited Earth, slowly, carefully. 2 civilizations began to understand each other, and then everything changed. The attack came without warning. Station Refuge floated in unclaimed space, a neutral meeting point for traders and travelers from 100 worlds. 3,000 beings lived there, buying and selling and passing through on their way to somewhere else. Among them were 47 humans, part of a small trade delegation trying to build connections with alien merchants. Gi Wuhan was one of them. She was 32 years old, with long dark hair that she kept tied back, and eyes that always seemed to be calculating something. She was not a soldier or a diplomat. She was a logistics coordinator, responsible for tracking shipments and managing schedules. She had taken this assignment because it seemed safe. Because it seemed boring? She was wrong. The Kareth warships arrived at midnight station time. They were massive and ugly, covered in spikes and weapons that glowed with terrible energy. The Kareth were one of the few true predator species in the galaxy. Cold-blooded reptiles who had somehow developed intelligence without losing their hunting instincts. The Council tolerated them because they were useful. Because they controlled territory that no one else wanted. Because they were too dangerous to fight, but the Council's protection did not extend to unclaimed space. The station's shields fell in minutes. The Kareth boarding parties cut through the hall like knives through paper. Ji-woo was in her quarters when the alarms started screaming. She grabbed her tablet and ran into the corridor, where chaos had already taken hold. Aliens of every shape were running and screaming and trampling each other. Ji-woo pressed herself against a wall and tried to think. The escape pods were on the lower levels. If she could get there before the Kareth sealed them off, she might survive. She started moving, but she did not run. Running attracted attention. Running marked you as prey. Instead, she walked quickly and quietly. Using the crowds as cover, slipping through gaps that others could not see, she almost made it. The Kareth warrior appeared around a corner, and Ji-woo stopped breathing. It was over 2 meters tall, covered in dark green scales that seemed to absorb the light. Its eyes were yellow with vertical slits. Its mouth was full of teeth that had been designed by evolution to tear flesh from bone. It saw her immediately. Human, it hissed. The translation implant turned its growling language into words that Ji-woo could understand. I have heard about your kind. The prey that thinks it is a predator. Ji-woo did not run. She knew that running would trigger its hunting instincts. Instead, she stood very still and met its eyes. What do you want? The Kareth laughed, a horrible sound like rocks grinding together. I want nothing from you. You are cargo now. Valuable cargo. Other species will pay much to study the strange humans who appeared from nowhere. More Kareth appeared behind the first one. They herded Ji-woo and a group of other survivors toward the station's central plaza, where hundreds of hostages were already waiting. The Kareth had been efficient. In less than an hour, they had captured almost everyone on the station. Ji-woo found the other humans in the crowd. Some were crying. Some were praying. Some just stared at nothing, their minds already broken by the trauma. She counted them quickly. 39 out of 47. 8 were missing. She hoped they were hiding somewhere safe. But she knew they were probably dead. The Kareth commander arrived as the artificial sun of the station began to rise. His name was Vorath, and he was the largest Kareth that Ji-woo had ever seen. Old scars covered his scales, souvenirs from a lifetime of violence. He walked through the crowd of hostages like a farmer inspecting cattle, occasionally stopping to examine a particularly interesting specimen. When he reached Ji-woo, he stopped. You are human, he said. It was not a question. Yes. Vorath circled her slowly, studying her from every angle. Small, weak, no claws, no armor, no venom. He leaned close, his hot breath washing over her face. How did your kind ever survive? Ji-woo felt fear, cold and sharp, but she did not let it show on her face. She had read about the Kareth. She knew that they respected only strength. Showing weakness would mark her as prey in their eyes, and prey did not survive. We survived because we had to, she said quietly. Nothing on our world made it easy for us. We earned every day we lived. Vorath seemed amused. Pretty words from a pretty prey. But words do not stop teeth. No, Ji-woo agreed. But we have other ways to stop teeth. The Kareth commander laughed again. I like you, small human. You have fire in your eyes. He turned to address the crowd. Listen well, all of you. You are now property of the Kareth Dominion. Some of you will be sold. Some of you will work in our mines. Some of you will provide entertainment. Valorian near Ji-woo made a sound of terror. She was young, her crystal body pale with fear. They will hunt us, she whispered. The Kareth hunt prey for sport. They release us in the wild and chase us until we collapse. Vorath was still speaking. We will begin selection in 1 hour. Those who are chosen will come with me. Those who are not, he smiled, showing rows of terrible teeth. Those who are not will serve other purposes. He walked back to Jiwoo and stopped directly in front of her. His yellow eyes burned with cruel intelligence. Tell me, small human. Your species claims to be predators. You say that you hunted everything that hunted you? That you killed your way to the top of your world? He leaned down until his face was level with hers. Where's your predator now? The one that should be protecting you. The one that made you what you are. The plaza was silent. 3,000 beings held their breath, waiting for the small human to answer. Giwu looked up at the monster in front of her. She thought about her parents, who had worked their whole lives so she could have a better future. She thought about her grandmother who had survived a war that killed millions. She thought about all the generations of humans who had fought and died, and refused to give up. She thought about what it meant to be human. We do not have a predator, she said. Vorith smiled. Then you are prey. No. Gu shook her head slowly. We were prey. 60,000 years ago, before we learned to make fire. Before we learned to make weapons. Before we learned that we did not have to run, she took a step forward. She did not know where the courage came from, but it was there, burning in her chest like a star. Everything on our planet tried to kill us. The cold tried to freeze us. We made fire. The animals tried to eat us. We made spears. Disease tried to destroy us. We made medicine. Even each other tried to kill us. And yes, sometimes we succeeded. Another step. Vorith did not move back, but something in his eyes changed. Something that might have been uncertainty. You ask where my predator is? Jiwoo's voice was steady now, calm and clear. You are looking at her. Every human is both predator and prey. We hunt ourselves because nothing else is good enough. We compete and fight and push each other to be better, stronger, smarter, and when something from outside threatens us. She smiled, and it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a species that had crawled out of the mud and conquered a world. When something from outside threatens us, we stop fighting each other. We turn around, and we fight together. She paused. You called us prey. You will learn how wrong you are. Vorath stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed, but this time the sound was different. Less certain. Less cruel. Bold words, he said. We will see if you can back them up. He turned and walked away, his guards following behind him. But Jiwoo noticed something that filled her with cold satisfaction. He had taken a step back. The predator had retreated, even if just for a moment. And in that moment, something had changed. The other hostages were looking at her differently now. The Valorians, the Rethki, the dozens of other species who had spent their entire evolution running from predators, they were looking at her like she might be able to save them. Jiwoo did not know if she could. She was just a logistics coordinator. She was not a hero, or a soldier, or a leader, but she was human, and humans did not give up. She would find a way. She had to. The first night after the attack was the longest of Jiwoo's life. The Kareth had locked all the hostages in the station's cargo bay. A massive room filled with crates and containers from 100 worlds. There was no food. There was no water. There was only fear, thick and heavy in the recycled air. But Jiwoo did not sleep. She moved through the crowd like a ghost, quiet and careful, looking for the other humans. She found them gathered in a corner, huddled together for warmth and comfort. Their faces were pale and their eyes were empty, but they were alive. That was what mattered. Tae-sun Kim was among them. He was 53 years old, with gray in his hair and scars on his hands from a lifetime of violence. He had been a soldier once, a Marine who had fought in wars that most people wanted to forget. Now, he worked as a security consultant for the trade delegation, a quiet job that was supposed to be his retirement. You were the one who stood up to the commander, he said when Jiwoo approached. His voice was rough but not unkind. That was either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both, Ji-woo admitted. But I am tired of being scared. Taesin nodded slowly. Fear is useful. It keeps you alive. But too much fear makes you freeze, and freezing gets you killed. He looked at her with eyes that had seen too much death. What do you want to do? I want to fight back. The words hung in the air between them. Taesin did not laugh. He did not tell her she was crazy. He just studied her face for a long moment, looking for something. Whatever he found seemed to satisfy him. Fighting the Kareth is not easy, he said. They are stronger than us. Faster, too. Their scales are like armor, and their claws can cut through metal. He paused. But they are not smarter, and they have never hunted something that hunts back. Another human joined them. Her name was Yoonji Beek, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. She had worked in security for 30 years, protecting people and places from threats they never saw coming.
Oh.
I have been watching the Kareth patrols, she said quietly. They change guards every 6 hours. There are always at least 4 of them at each exit, but they get lazy during the middle of their shifts. They think we are just prey. They are not expecting trouble. Ji-woo felt something spark in her chest. It was not hope, not exactly. It was something older and fiercer. It was the feeling of a plan beginning to form. We need weapons, she said. The cargo bay is full of equipment, Yoonji replied. Mining tools. Construction supplies. Nothing designed for fighting, but anything can be a weapon if you use it right. Taesin smiled grimly. Our ancestors killed lions with sharp sticks. I think we can manage. They worked through the night quietly and carefully. Gi-woo organized the other humans into small groups, each with a specific task. Some searched the cargo crates for anything useful. Others watched the Kareth guards, noting their patterns and weaknesses. Still others talked to the alien hostages, looking for allies. They found more than they expected. The Valorians were afraid, but they were not cowards. Their crystalline bodies could not fight, but they could block corridors and create barriers. The Rethki were small and weak, but their shells could withstand heat. And their compound eyes could see in almost complete darkness. Even the Meltari, a species of living liquid, offered to help. They could flow through pipes and ventilation systems, carrying messages where the Kareth could not follow. By the second night, Ji-woo had an army. It was small and scared and armed with mining picks and construction hammers, but it was an army. They are going to start the selection tomorrow, Yoonji reported. They will take 1/3 of the hostages to their ships. Once that happens, we lose any chance of winning. Gu nodded. Then we move tonight. The plan was simple. Simple plans were the best plans, because simple plans had fewer things that could go wrong. At exactly 3 in the morning, when the Kareth guards were at their most relaxed, the uprising would begin. The Meltari moved first. They flowed through the station's water systems, reaching the power generators that fed the cargo bay lights. At the signal, they would cut the power, plunging the bay into darkness. The Rethki moved second. They crept through the shadows toward the ventilation ducts, positioning themselves to drop behind the guards at each exit. They could not fight, but they could distract and confuse. The Valorians moved third. They formed lines across the main corridors, their bodies creating walls of living crystal that the Kareth could not easily pass. And the humans moved last. Ji-woo led them personally. She carried a mining pick in one hand and a welding torch in the other. Her heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her teeth, but her hands were steady. She had never killed anyone before. She had never even been in a real fight. But she had studied the Kareth. She knew their weaknesses. She knew that their scales were thinnest at the joints, where flexibility mattered more than protection. She knew that their eyes were sensitive to bright light. She knew that they were cold-blooded, which meant they were slower when the temperature dropped. The lights went out for a moment. There was only darkness and silence. Then the screaming started. The Kareth guards were confused. They roared and slashed at the air, trying to find enemies they could not see. The Rethki dropped from the vents, their hard shells cracking against the floor, drawing attention and fire away from the humans. Ji-woo and Taesin hit the first guard together. Tayson swept its legs with a metal pipe, while Jiwoo drove her mining pick into the gap between its shoulder plates. The Kareth screamed and fell, and Jiwoo did not stop to think about what she had done. She could not afford to think. Thinking would slow her down, and slow meant dead. The fight spread through the station like fire. The Kareth were strong, but they were also outnumbered and surprised. They had expected their prey to cower and beg. They had not expected their prey to attack. Jiwoo lost track of time. Everything became a blur of darkness and light, of screaming and blood, of the weight of her weapon in her hand and the burning in her muscles. She took wounds that she did not feel. She killed Kareth that she did not count. She kept moving forward because stopping meant dying. She was not ready to die. She found Voreth in the station's command center. The Kareth commander was alone, surrounded by bodies. He had killed a dozen hostages before Jiwoo arrived, his claws red with their blood. When he saw her, he smiled that terrible smile. "The small human," he said. "You did this." Jiwoo was breathing hard. Her left arm was bleeding from a deep cut, and her vision was starting to blur at the edges. But she did not look away. "I did," Voreth laughed. "Impressive. Your species is more dangerous than I thought." He dropped into a fighting stance, his claws extended. "But you are hurt and tired, and I am neither. This ends now." He was faster than she expected. His claws slashed through the air where her head had been, missing by centimeters. Jiwoo rolled to the side and came up with her welding torch blazing. The bright light hit Voroth's sensitive eyes, and he roared in pain. But he did not stop. He swung blindly, and his claws caught Jiwoo across the chest. She felt the impact like a punch from a giant, and suddenly she was on her back. Staring up at the ceiling, Voroth loomed over her, his eyes watering but still full of murder. "You fought well," he admitted. "Better than any prey I have ever hunted. But in the end, you are still prey. Still soft, still weak." Jiwoo looked up at him. Her chest was on fire. She could feel blood pooling beneath her. Everything was getting dark and cold, but she was still holding the welding torch. "You are right," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I am soft. I am weak. I am small and slow and fragile." She lifted the torch and aimed it at his face. "But I am also human, and humans do not know when to quit." The flame caught him directly in the eyes. Voroth screamed, a sound of pure agony that echoed through the station. He staggered back, clawing at his face. And Jiwoo forced herself to her feet. She did not remember picking up the metal beam that was lying on the floor. She did not remember swinging it with every last bit of strength she had. She only remembered the sound it made when it connected with Voroth's skull. The Kareth. Commander fell. He did not get up. Jiwoo stood over his body, swaying on her feet, covered in blood that was both hers and his. The welding torch had gone out. The beam slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. Behind her, she heard footsteps. Tayson appeared in the doorway, followed by Yoonji and a dozen others. They stopped when they saw her standing over Voroth's body. "Is it over?" Yoonji asked. Jiwoo looked down at the monster at her feet. She looked at her hands, red and trembling. She looked at the stars outside the window, cold and distant and beautiful. "It is over," she said, and then the darkness took her. Jiwoo woke up in a place she did not recognize. The walls were white and soft, and the air smelled like medicine and flowers. She tried to sit up, but her body refused to obey. Everything hurt. Everything was heavy and slow. "Do not move," a gentle voice said. "You have been unconscious for 3 days. Your wounds are healing, but you need rest." Jiwoo turned her head and saw Ambassador Telos standing beside her bed. His crystalline body glowed with warm colors, and his purple eyes were full of something that looked like concern. "Where am I?" she asked. Her voice was rough, like she had been screaming for hours. "You are on Station Harmony, in our finest medical facility." Telos moved closer, his body chiming softly. "When the Galactic Council received word of the attack on Station Refuge, we sent a rescue fleet. By the time we arrived, the fighting was already over." He paused. "The hostages told us what you did. All of them. Every single species. Guwu closed her eyes. She could still see Voreth's face in the darkness, twisted with pain and surprise. She could still feel the weight of the metal beam in her hands. How many did we lose? Telos was quiet for a moment. 412 hostages died during the attack and the uprising. 8 of them were human. Jiwoo felt tears burning behind her eyes. 8 humans. 8 people who had trusted her, who had followed her into battle, who had died because of a plan she made. I am sorry, she whispered. I am so sorry. Do not be sorry. Telos reached out and touched her hand. His skin was cool and smooth, like polished stone. You saved 2,588 lives. You defeated an enemy that should have been impossible to defeat. You showed the entire galaxy what humans are capable of. Giwu opened her eyes. Is that a good thing? Telos smiled, a gesture he had learned from watching humans. I believe it is. The council is still debating, of course. They debate everything. But the mood has changed. Before, many species saw humans as a threat. Now, many see you as potential allies, in the Kareth. The Kareth Dominion has been stripped of its protected status. Their fleet has been confined to their home territory. Several of their commanders have been arrested and will face trial for crimes against sentient beings. Telos paused. Voreth died from his injuries. You killed him. Gu nodded slowly. She had known that already. She had felt it in the moment the beam connected with his skull. She had taken a life, and that weight would never fully leave her. I did not want to kill him, she said quietly. I just wanted to survive. I wanted all of us to survive. I know. Telos stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars shone cold and distant against the black velvet of space. That is what makes your species so remarkable. You do not seek violence, but you do not run from it either. You fight when you must, and show mercy when you can. The door opened and Captain Unipark walked in. She looked tired but relieved, her eyes bright when she saw Giwu awake. You are alive, Yuna said. We were worried. I am stubborn, Jiwu replied. My mother always said it was my worst quality. Yuna laughed, and the sound filled the room like sunlight. Your mother was wrong. Stubbornness is what kept you alive. It is what kept all those hostages alive. She sat down in the chair Telos had left. The council wants to speak with you. When you are well enough? Why? Because you are a hero now. Whether you like it or not. Yuna's expression softened. You scared them, Jiwu. You showed them what a single human could do when pushed to the edge. They want to understand. They want to know if we are a threat or an opportunity. Jiwu thought about this for a long time. She thought about the Kareth, cold and cruel, so certain of their superiority. She thought about the hostages, terrified and helpless, looking to her for hope. She thought about Tayson and Yunji and all the others who had fought beside her. What do you want me to tell them? She asked. Yuna shook her head. I want you to tell them the truth, whatever that is for you. 2 weeks later, Jiwu stood before the Galactic Council. She was still healing, still weak, still covered in bandages and scars. But she stood straight and tall, her eyes clear and steady. The chamber was fuller than it had been for humanity's first contact. Every species in the galaxy had sent representatives. All of them eager to see the human who had defeated a Kareth commander in single combat. The Grand Arbiter spoke first. Jiwuhan of Earth, you have done something that no prey species has ever done. You fought back against predators and won. You organized resistance against impossible odds. You killed one of the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy. Giwu nodded. Yes, the Council wishes to understand. Are humans truly as dangerous as this incident suggests? Are you a threat to galactic civilization? Jiwu looked around the chamber. She saw Valorians in Rethki, Meltari, and 100 other species. She saw fear in some eyes and hope in others. She saw beings who had spent their entire evolution running from predators. Beings who had never imagined that prey could fight back. Humans are not special because we are strong, she said. Her voice was quiet but clear, carried by the chamber's amplification systems to every corner of the vast room. We are not the fastest or the toughest or the most dangerous. Plenty of species are better than us in those ways. She paused, gathering her thoughts. But we are stubborn. We refuse to accept our place in the universe. When nature told us we were prey, we made weapons. When the cold tried to kill us, we made fire. When disease came for us, we made medicine. Every time the universe pushed us down, we got back up. She looked directly at the Grand Arbiter, meeting those ancient eyes without fear. You ask if we are dangerous? Yes, we are extremely dangerous. We have killed more of each other than any alien species could imagine. We have built weapons that could destroy planets. We have done terrible things in our history, things that shame us still. A murmur ran through the chamber, but Jiwoo continued. But we have also done beautiful things. We have created art and music and stories that make us weep with joy. We have shown kindness to strangers and mercy to enemies. We have sacrificed ourselves for people we have never met. We are capable of great evil, but we are also capable of great good. She spread her hands, showing the chamber her palms. I killed Vorath because I had no choice. Because he would have killed me and everyone I was trying to protect. But I did not enjoy it. I carry his death with me, and I always will. That is what makes us human. We can be monsters when we need to be, but we choose not to be monsters when we have other options. She let her hands fall. You can fear us if you want. That is your right. But I think it would be better to know us, to understand us, to see that we are not so different from you. She paused. Every species in this galaxy evolved to run or to hunt. We evolved to choose. And today, standing here before you, I choose peace. I choose cooperation. I choose to be better than my ancestors. She bowed slightly. That is the truth of humanity. We are what we choose to be. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, the Valorian delegation began to chime, their crystalline bodies ringing in harmony. The sound spread. Joined by clicks and whistles and songs from 100 different species, they were applauding. Later, after the formal ceremonies and the endless questions, Yuna found Jiwoo standing alone by a window. The stars stretched out before them, infinite and beautiful and full of possibility. You did well, Yuna said. The council has voted to upgrade our status. We are full members now, with all the rights and responsibilities that brings. Jiwoo nodded. That is good. Are you okay? Jiwoo thought about the question. She thought about Vorath and the blood and the darkness. She thought about the 8 humans who had died following her lead. She thought about the scars that would never fully heal. No, she said honestly, but I will be. That is what we do. We survive, heal. We keep going. Yuna stood beside her, and together they looked out at the stars. You know what they are calling you? Yuna asked. In the alien news feeds, what? The prey that hunts. Yuna smiled. They say you are the proof that humanity truly has no predator, because we became our own. Jiwoo considered this. It was not entirely wrong. Humans were strange creatures, capable of both tremendous cruelty and tremendous kindness. They competed with each other and protected each other, sometimes at the same time. We are a contradiction, she said softly. Prey and predator wrapped in the same skin. Maybe that is why we survived. Because we could never agree on what we were supposed to be. Yuna laughed. That sounds about right. They stood in silence for a while longer, watching the stars wheel slowly past. Somewhere out there, billions of species were learning about humanity for the first time. Some would fear them. Some would admire them. Some would want to be their friends, and some would want to be their enemies. But one thing was certain. The galaxy would never be the same, because they had asked where her predator was, and she had answered, me. And the universe had listened.